Today on the podcast, we have the honor, the excitement to interview Jake Combs, one of our evening CrossFit badasses. He's also a busy working dad. He's a husband. He's got kids. We're going to learn how he balances all of these things and also makes time to be a competitive CrossFitter in today's episode. So stick around.
Welcome to the CrossFit Edwardsville Community Podcast, where we hear and learn from our coaches, CrossFitters, and Glen Ed community leaders. Now, here are your hosts, Dallas and Greg.
What is up, party people? It is the CFE Community Podcast. I'm your co-host, Coach G Scout. My friend Dallas is out working out on the terrain today, so we can't hang out with him. But we do get to hang out with Jake Combs today, one of our evening CrossFit badasses. As you guys know, on this podcast, we like to interview our CrossFitters to learn their stories and how they do it, how they balance fitness and having that part of their life alongside all the other responsibilities of being a spouse, being a parent, being a working professional, juggling all of the things. And today we get to learn from Jake more about that. Jake, we're excited to welcome you to the podcast.
I appreciate you guys having me. I'm excited.
So Jake officially became a part of our CrossFit Edwardsville community on July 13th of last year, July 13th of 2022, as part of our CrossFit onboarding program. According to the Zen Planner system, Jake has completed 118 CrossFit sessions, including many group sessions and private coaching sessions. By day, he's a professional appointment setter. He has a wife, he has daughters. And by evening, a competitive CrossFitter, becoming more badass by the day. So today we'll learn more about Jake. And Jake, we'll begin this, we'll break the ice by breaking some easier questions. So you had almost 120 CrossFit sessions under your belt so far, so you have some perspective. What are Jake's all-time favorite CrossFit workouts?
All-time favorites. I love last summer when we were doing more of the games workouts, the very strongman, the outside ones, all of those. Those those have always been my favorite. The Thanksgiving wads, those type of things, the longer ones that take endurance plus strength. Those are my favorites, and any body weight exercise, because I feel like I do better with those. So I love those too. That's
awesome, man. So the flip side of that coin, what's the hardest CrossFit workout you've ever done?
I reference this to this day to Bailey. Every time we talk about it, is she made a partner workout one time, and her and I were partners, and it was 100. It was split between, but it was 100s of push-ups, cleans, toes to bar or toes to ring, and 100 calories on a bike. But every minute on the minute, it was 3 burpees.
Wow.
So
wow, dude.
Yeah, that was at the end of it. Her and I were crawling up and down on burpees to get onto that calorie bike.
Yeah. One of the things I've noticed, some of the most challenging, difficult, mind-bending workouts, some of the most memorable workouts are the ones that have an EMOM component and every minute on the minute component to it. Mm-hmm. Today's workout at CFE is a good example of that, where you have to do a certain amount of work in a 4-minute window and then do that repeated times.
Yep.
There's a CrossFit workout known as Calzu, which is 100 thrusters for time with 135-pound bar, solo, 100 thrusters for time, but every minute on the minute you have to do 5 burpees. And I've actually never even attempted that workout, because workouts like that with the EMOM component, they're incredibly challenging, but also rewarding for the same reason.
Mm-hmm.
So on that topic, Jake, what are the exercises or workouts you get the most excited to see in the programming?
You call me crazy, but as of late, I actually really enjoy front rack positions or thrusters. Because thrusters, I feel like I definitely got the workout in. I'm going to feel it the next day. It's a whole bunch of components, not just doing a front squat or anything. It's every time I do thrusters, I know I'm going to feel it the next day, and I know I'm getting stronger by doing those. So some people might call me crazy, but I like seeing thrusters in there as much as I don't like seeing them in there, just because I know.
Yeah. It's one of those full body exercises where everything from your legs to your core to your arms is going to get worked. Mm-hmm. So when you say you're going to feel it the next day, you're talking about muscles will be sore. You'll know you did a workout the next day.
Yeah. If I don't feel it after a day of thrusters, I didn't go hard enough.
I dig it. So you've seen the best of both worlds, Jake. You've had both group CrossFit and solo private coaching. How would you describe or compare and contrast the two for you in your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to like, if you played sports and you want to get that more intricate detailed and hone in on your specificities, I guess you can say. The
Sure.
one-on-one coaching, I loved it. I love the one-on-one coaching, like because we honed in on what I needed. But the group settings is I thrive in a group. I love having that energy with a whole class, everybody kind of like joking, but also working out. You get to thrive off of each other, and everybody's super, super encouraging. Like, for example, I mean, I think you had Andrew on this at one point, like the
I did,
Thanksgiving
yeah.
one at the very end where he was doing 2.0 and everybody stayed to like cheer
Yeah,
him on for those last ones. Like that kind of energy in the group settings is like why I love the group setting so much. But I would never discredit the solo because the solo is definitely something if you have like peaks or something that you're struggling with certain movements, I would definitely recommend to anybody.
that's awesome, man. Hey, we'll take a moment. Do a shout out to your people, your evening workout buddies out here. Do a shout out to your crew, man.
Oh man, I'm always there with Toon, with Andrew, Matt Kopecky. I mean, Bailey's always running the class. Like Laura, like Julie's on
Yeah,
Saturdays though. I mean, I'm always there Saturday too, so that's a big one. Man, there's so many people. Like, I feel like I'm gonna miss somebody. I'm about to do this. I'm about to miss somebody, and they're gonna
they're
be like, "Oh
gonna be
man,
so mad at you. They'll be like, "You shouted out too. You didn't say anything about me. Are we not friends?"
no." We got like Ethan in there, like all kinds of people. Like, it's cool because it's a community. Like, you meet people that you probably may not have met if you don't immerse yourself in this type of environment, and you make like lifelong friends that you can compete with and grow with too.
Sure. So you're several months in now, and like you've really thrown yourself into the deep end of the CrossFit side of things, and so you do a lot of workouts. You kind of achieve like a veteran CrossFitter status now. Are you starting to see things from more of a veteran perspective? What's the number one mistake that Jake sees newbie CrossFitters making?
Um, Trying to move too quickly, I guess you can say, is like definitely like focus on the movements. There's a lot of like movements that if you try to rush it, you'll definitely hurt yourself. Like, I mean, like not like severe hurt, but like things that you wouldn't notice. Like if you deadlift wrong, if you snatch wrong, like you can hurt your shoulder, like you can hurt your lower back very easily, like just by doing things and not keeping your core tight. So just don't focus as much on weight as comparative to like the movements, because you'll get stronger as you do things correctly, then you add the weight accordingly. That's what I would definitely say.
Yeah. We've seen Jake getting a lot stronger so far. Is that fair to say?
It's fair to say.
So then, looking forward, Jake, next few months, like what's your top goal? What do you want to achieve, or what excites you? We have the CrossFit Open about a
Mm-hmm.
month away. We have the Festivus Games coming up. I believe that you have a crew doing that. We have Murph shortly after that. Like, what's Jake's goal in fitness? What are you excited to do?
So this year, I forgot about the Open until you just said that. So I forgot about that one. But yes, I do. Andrew and Toon and I are all we're doing Festivus, so we're practicing for that. Focusing on my strength for that, and because that's a big component that I need to get up. You said Murph. I would love to get to the point where I could do Murph in the weighted vest, all out. I actually bought a weighted vest, so like I'm excited for it to be like nice outside, so I can start running more. Like
Sure.
without, but one of my biggest ones this year is I am about to sign up for my first Spartan race. So
Cool.
like that's definitely something that I'm gonna sign up that. And it's like that commitment aspect where you're like, you better get ready. And I think Julie and I have discussed doing like finding one and traveling and going and doing it together.
Sure.
So that's a
So what,
big component for me.
which one are you doing then? Like, where are you guys going, or have you decided yet?
We
Like,
haven't
yeah,
decided.
give us the inside scoop of what's going to happen this year.
We haven't decided yet. I think Phoenix is an option. Out in Denver is an option. I mean, there's some really cool ones. I think there's one in like the summertime in Virginia, like Virginia Beach. So we're just weighing the options of what works best for her and then myself and the schedule. But I guess if you're going outside of like Spartan side, like for the whole year, my whole goal is like right now, I have a new nutritionist. That's the really a big thing that I first this the beginning of the year really dove into heavily. because I want to put on muscle. I want to put on
For
muscle,
sure.
and like I know it's going to come with weight and dialing in my macros and everything, which I've been not the best at in the past. So having someone to be like, do it, I'm doing it. I would love to get my body fat down to about in between 15 to 17 would be ideal. 100%
Sure.
by the end of the year. I mean, lower would be best, but I know I had my second in body ever yesterday, like 2 weeks ago, and I'm floating it right around like 20%.
I
But
gotcha.
I've lost 15 pounds as well since starting CrossFit.
That's awesome, dude. Virtual high five to you. Congratulations.
Thanks. Thank you.
I know
So
you've worked really hard. I've seen you out there, even when it's raining outside, running in the weight vest. You're putting in the work, dude. You'll be ready for Murph. You'll be ready for that Spartan race. I feel really good about it, especially if you got your healthy eating dialed in.
yeah, that's the biggest thing. The eating component. So many people like neglect that. Like you feel there's a total night and day difference about how you feel if you eat something healthy compared to like if you would go get fast food and do a workout. It's night and day. Night and day.
Night and day. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears and go back in time, Jake. How did you find out about us in the first place?
So I was doing some research for a bit, like because I was in the restaurant space for a while, and it was always very, very difficult for me to find actual time to go work out unless it was like at Planet Fitness at midnight after I got off from the restaurant. But then having kids and stuff, it was hard to justify not seeing it anymore. So I like got out of the restaurant, started looking around a little more. I heard of CrossFit. I knew people always talked about it, but I had no idea actually what it was. I was just like, I don't even know what this is. So finally, I just made that commitment like last year in like June, where I was just like, just typed in CrossFit gym like near me
Yeah.
because I stay over in Troy, and like CFE popped up, and I was just like, I'm sending it because if I send it, I'm probably gonna get hit up back, and then I'm just gonna commit to it. So that's exactly how my mind was. So then when you reached out to me, we had our call. I was just like, I did that first session. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. This is gonna be tough, and I love it. So this is the best part. Like, so how I heard about it was just like doing some research, being active. I knew of people who have done it, but I never did it. So just reaching out and finally just saying, hey, I'm gonna jump into something different that's going to hold me even more accountable than just going to the gym was what I definitely was looking for.
Cool, man. So then what's been the best benefits for you? Like in terms of like how you look, how you feel, how you perform. We talked about like you've cut 15 pounds, we know you're stronger. What else? Like how has it helped you maybe outside the gym?
I mean, I think you and I joked about this one day is I say when I do squats, like when I pick up my daughter, I'm basically doing front squats. Like, or I go like I do proper form. Like it's like a discipline thing. And knowing that if I would disappear, because there was 1 week I was actually pretty sick in December, so I missed a good amount of time. And like I was getting messages from people like, yo, are you okay? So just knowing
Right.
like people know when you're not there and holding you accountable, that's a big thing that I really enjoy. Well, that helps me on the outside of it. I don't struggle
Sure.
with discipline, but the benefits of like building friendships, relationships, my overall health is the healthiest I've been in a long, long time. Not just talking about weight or strength, but just mindset and everything is in general. It's helped me because I didn't think I was going to like love CrossFit as much as I do. And I don't say that in the negativity way. I mean, like
Sure.
it became like what would you call it? It became like a lifestyle.
For
Like,
sure.
you know what I mean? And that was definitely a shift for me, and it changed a lot. And it's how it positively affects my family too. Is my daughter, like I'll do handstand push-ups on my door, and she wants to do. I'll hold her feet and let her do.
Yeah.
It bleeds in. So we'll have a little CrossFitter here in the next couple of years whenever she's can do the kids classes.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad to hear that they're seeing you doing this because like we're setting the example, we're setting the stage for our kids and what they'll think is normal. And if they think, oh, spending time working on my health, eating in a healthy way, hitting the gym, putting in the work for my strength and my conditioning, if they think that's normal, then that's the example they'll follow themselves. So like for my kids, for your kids, we're setting a stage for them to be successful also, which is, I know for me, really helpful because I did not necessarily have that upbringing myself. And so I kind of got a late start with all of this, but I'm curious to know more about Jake's background because one of the cool things we can do in this podcast is learn more about Jake back in time. So tell us about your upbringing, your childhood, like where you're from, what your family was like, any special memories that really shaped you as a person.
Oof. All right. So, Steelville, Illinois, small town. My graduating class was 32 people. And so it
Wow,
was
dude.
a small town. We had like an IGA for a dollar store. We had a Dairy Queen and a Subway and 2 gas stations. That's the equivalent of what my town had. So
Man,
very small
homo
town.
roots.
Yep. My mom has been a nurse forever. My dad has always worked for the state and been super supportive of anything I've ever really done. But I always grew up like pretty active. I always wanted to compete. I have like that competitive mindset of like, if I do something, I want to be the best at it. Like I hate losing. It's a blessing and a curse, right? Like I hate losing. So sometimes you just push yourself even more. But most of the time I played every sport you could think of. Ran track and field. I did baseball, basketball, like everything. My school didn't have football, so I never got to do that. But I played basketball year round for a long, long time, like AAU, like travel ball, and all those kind of things, which shaped my competitiveness, I guess you can say, just because of you get to see a lot of other people around the country. It's not just you. Like growing up in a small town, you're like, whoa, what else is out there? Right. But then you meet
Right.
so many other people. But I grew up playing sports forever. As I got into my teens, high school years, I got really big into music. I was big into music like prior anyway. But a lot of things shifted when everybody, as you get older, your teenage years, you have a little bit more independency. So you're like, man, I might want to start a band. So that's kind of what that's kind of like what happened there. And I played music for a long time, like doing some tours, like playing with like national acts, like
That's
all this.
amazing.
Yeah. So like doing those kind of things would open my eyes to like the thought process of like, you don't have to go the conventional route to have a substantial lifestyle, I guess you can say, because, I tried to go to college. I went for a little bit, but I ended up not continuing because it wasn't like at the end, I feel like I was just like throwing money down the drain just to say I went to college.
Sure.
It's not the podcast to say, hey, don't go to college. It's not what I'm saying. But like what I did is I focused on my music.
Your trade.
Yeah, my trade. And it ended up because it showed me that started an entrepreneurial itch for me, realizing that I could do something different. After the band disbanded, I got into restaurants though. I mean, people know what Red Robin is. Like the burger spot, I became a manager. Well, it started as like a line cook and everything, but became a manager after being there for a while and worked in multiple stores around around this area, right? Over in Missouri, here, like travel a little bit. So I ended up doing that for years, but falling into the salary realm of like not a lot of growth. Like to
Sure.
grow within a company, it's more of you have to be there for 5, 10, 15, 20 years and play all your cards right. So
Yep.
like, yeah, my upbringing though, I know I went off on a tangent there, but my upbringing has got me where I was today just because my family has always been super, super supportive of whatever I do, be my competitive nature. But like you mentioned earlier, like now I essentially I have been an appointment setter. Now I took on another role. I do coaching. I do sales at its core. That's essentially what I do, but a different realm of it. And
Sure.
like CrossFit helps fuel and keep my mind right for that because you always got to be sharp. You always got to be the best version of yourself. If you don't enjoy your life outside of what you do, how can you expect someone else to buy into the fact that you can help change theirs?
For sure.
I think that's what you do so well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So to our audience that's watching this on the YouTube, to Jake's left and right, we see some of the instruments of his past.
Yep.
I'm curious to know the story of these guitars. Yeah, one to your right, one to your left. Were these part of your band years? Give us the story there.
These were more part of my like sit at home and write music years. on this side. Yeah, the black one. That was my first acoustic. It's a Yamaha. It's played fantastic forever. Like, I don't understand how Yamaha makes like that good of acoustic guitars, but I've never had a problem with it ever. It's the best. And then this one is just one I've used. It's an Epiphone, like, but it's an older one. It's a much older like model, and I like hanging them. They're also uneven. Now I can see this. I have to rehang them, but those are like my sit at home. I'll take one of those down. My daughter will come up and she'll strum. It's the more family oriented thing still, because I still like to produce and I write music. Like,
really? Still now.
Oh, dude, I have like two albums that are unreleased in my Dropbox right now. So they're just sitting there.
No way. What's gonna happen, dude? Are you gonna release these? Well, like, what's the release date for Jake Holmes' next EP or whatever?
I actually just messaged one of the guitar players that we wrote one of the albums together. I was like, like how the internet is, in TikTok, we might as well just make these like TikTok shorts and play our music in the background and slowly release music as like an internet band. Might as well, because it's just sitting there. So honestly, probably in the next like month or two, we'll start dropping some stuff, and some of those are old. Those are more on the rock side. Now what I like to do is I like to dabble in the pop atmosphere and see what I can do on productions.
Are these the kind of songs? Is it the kind of like vibe we could work out to? Because you could put together a mix. I bet you could talk Coach Bailey into playing some of your original stuff at the evening workouts here.
Probably. I mean, there are some, like, most of them are they're very workout oriented. Like, because I used to sneak it. I didn't tell you this. Like, I used to sneak my songs when I would open at the restaurant on our auxiliary port, and I would play them. And our prep cook, I would catch multiple times, like, I was like, I don't know who this is. And I would never tell them. So that's the funniest part, is like, that'd be funny. I'll have to like sneak some too, or honestly be like, yo, just slip us in here and see if anybody notices. But
dude, you should totally do that. Like, who are your influences? Like, what bands have like driven your style?
My actual style, the way like how my vocals are, is if you listen to, who like 3 Days Grace is?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like Adam, like old Adam. That's almost what I sound like that rasp, but like also being able to clean. That's the best I would compare to. But my actual influences, I grew up on 80s hair metal. My dad raised me on like 80s music, so those are big ones. But now is like, I forever have loved Papa Roach and how Jacoby Shaddix held himself as a frontman. Seen him multiple times. I met him.
He's transformed since he started, dude. He's a whole different guy now.
Completely different. And I think that's the coolest part. I remember meeting him and like putting foot in mouth moment, because I couldn't talk. It was like, but like, he is like the embodiment of like how I would perform, like high energy. I would like hang from things, like hang from rafters, like jump on barricades. I was like that guy. I was the energy, putting on a show. Like, I wanted to still perform at a peak and like my vocals be on point, but I wanted to put on a performance that someone will remember outside of that as well.
My brother Askel has been to see Papa Roach live, and I think that Trust Company was opening for them. And Trust Company is also one of my favorite bands. And the way that my brother described it was an impossible contrast. Like, there's just nothing that Trust Company could do to match the energy and the excitement that Jacoby Shaddix, that Kobe Dick brings to the stage when he's when he brings that fire, man. There's nothing like it. That guy's incredible.
Oh yeah, hands down. And what you said, like his transformation, you go back to like the late 90s to now, total different dude. Like, completely different looking and everything, which is kudos to that guy as well.
Definitely. So any other hobbies or interests that you have outside the gym, like other stuff you do for fun besides fitness? And by the way, it's a good time to shout out your friends, shout out your people.
What I do, like, do you mean my people, like what I do, like for work, I guess you can say?
Or... I guess so, yeah.
Oh, well, two things. First off, I'll be the traditional route. I still love gaming. I've been a gaming guy like forever. I don't know if anybody plays like PC, but just look at this contraption. This is what I play on.
Yeah, okay.
Like, you put your hand in there, like it's like almost like a glove.
Yeah,
Yeah, very interesting.
that's wild.
So I still play games very heavily. That's like my pastime. That's like the release type thing, like to kind of step away. Spend time with my daughter turns 4 tomorrow. So
Always said happy birthday.
I shall. She turns 4 tomorrow, and then my youngest is 10 months. So I like to spend time with them. A big thing of this year is like we have like 12 goals on our board, our whiteboard in the kitchen, all like personal as well as like professional goals for my wife and I. And we're checking them off as we go. And multiple times throughout the year, it's like, do you want like go on a big family vacation, right? For one of them. Then also like take them to the zoo, the science center. So I'm getting a lot more into experiences over like physical things for my
For
kid.
sure.
But as well, like what I genuinely enjoy is like what I do for work isn't work to me. Like what I do is like essentially it's sales, but I like to call it more like leadership based enrollment. Essentially, I really talk to people and see if I can help get them out of their positions and train them into which it's more alternative education. You ever heard of like Tony Robbins and
Yeah, absolutely.
known to them? They're actually clients of ours. We help build, train, staff their sales teams and everything. So we actually train individuals and help them get placed within companies, almost like a trade school for high ticket sales.
Sure.
So I talk to people every day. I hear all kinds of different stories. Like, and it's the coolest. Like some are very emotionally deep driven stories. Some of them are very like goal oriented, like competitive stories. Talked to someone from Australia last night. So, right, I get to talk to people around the world and make friends and with people I'd never have. So that's those are my hobbies. I guess I treat my work as a hobby I get paid for. Truly.
I love that.
So
if you haven't yet, also you should discuss gaming with Andrew. I know he's pretty into it also. You guys may have that in common.
Yeah. I hear
so we have some fun alternative questions here, Jake. First one, and we'll kind of go through these kind of like lightning round style. Cool. What's an unusual habit or absurd thing that you love? Go.
An unusual habit or absurd thing that I love? Ooh, oh my God, what's the word? I'm like huge into, okay, this would be weird. I'm huge into, it's an absurd habit, but I love like true crime stuff and diving into like deep things. That's might be a weird habit, but like probably a habit that I look at stuff up to way too much. Like I'm very deep dive into that kind of stuff. I'll watch videos all the time. My wife hates it.
My wife is 100% into that stuff. We like that true crime type stuff. Like forensic files, podcasts, and TV shows where they crack the crime, solve the case.
If you like that kind of stuff, I don't know if you guys ever heard of the guy Mr. Ballin, Mr. Ballen. He does like true crime. He does like horror things, like these big stories. He's an ex-Navy SEAL, and he has a podcast. He's on YouTube. I would look him up. Super, super cool.
So, Mr. Ballin.
Mr. Ballin. Yep.
Okay, cool. We will. Any mantras or philosophies that guide Jake Combs in life? Go.
The biggest one I reference this all the time is there's no such thing as the right time. If you wait for the right time, it won't come. Truly. Like there's no snowflake that's going to fall from the sky that tells you it's the right time. I always say start things when it's hard, because if you do it when it's hard, when life loosens up and you get a little bit more time and leeway, you're going to just be a savage because you did it when it's hard.
There's no right time. Start things when they're hard. I love that from a fitness perspective. You know, our average CrossFitter is a busy working professional. There's never going to be a convenient time where you can fit workouts into your life. Like it's you're balancing family and work and your own interests, your own hobbies. You're trying to fit that fitness piece into there. There really is no right time. It's always going to be inconvenient. You got to start when it's difficult.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. If you could make one statement to the world, Jake, what would it be? Or to put it another way, if you had to choose one thing to say at a billboard that's going to be seen by thousands or millions of people, what would that billboard say?
Oof. It's so simple, but just like be yourself, follow your calling. Like don't let someone else tell you what you need to do or influence your situation, because they're not you. they don't know what goes on in your head. They don't know any like what you truly want. And so many people hide and run from that. So because they're nervous to have those conversations with their family or their spouses or their friends about what they actually want to do. And then that's how it rises to many more problems down the line. And then you get to be like 40, 50, 60 looking back and you're like, dang, like, because here's one thing, here's another mantra, dude, is I don't really fear things. I'm pretty risk adverse. I'm very calculated. But the thing that keeps me up at night is regret.
Sure.
I can overcome fear or the fear of doing something, but I can't overcome regretting not doing something.
You don't want to wake up one day and be like, how did I end up here? I don't like who I've become. I don't enjoy the work that I do. I feel stuck now. It sounds like for Jake, avoiding that regret was a big driving factor for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and you just got to buy into it. Sometimes it's super difficult to buy into it and it becomes an uncomfortable conversation with yourself or someone else. But true change doesn't come from small commitments.
And I like that.
True change.
That's a good one too. True change does not come from small commitments.
Yeah. I say because true change doesn't come from small commitments. Like you have to, if you continue making decisions the same way you always have, nothing will really change. You have to change the way you make decisions.
I dig that. That's sage advice. All right, last question, Jake. As you look ahead in life, what most excites you about the future? What do you most look forward to? Maybe you can shout out some of those goals from the Big 12 you got there on the fridge.
Yeah, I mean, life long term is growing and making sure my family never has to like even worry about anything. It sounds so cliche, but I want to be the first person in my family, one, that didn't go to college and became successful, but two, be the first one who can pass along a legacy to others. My sister's kids, when my brother has kids, my kids, I want them to all have a situation where this is my big goal is like they all have a property that's in their name as well that's producing them cash flow that they can use down the line to go to school, get a car, whatever they need to do. They have that ability, and it also is going to build their credit so they don't have to worry about those type of things down the line. That's a big goal. Year goals is wife and I are going to get a Tahoe because family's growing. We have a Jeep right now. I'm doing my Spartan. We're working on like dialing our health end both together and more natural diet, no diet, like dye-free things with the kids, getting those too, and just going on more trips, experiencing more things, but then giving those back to others. Like at Christmas, I like giving experiences over gifts now.
Yeah.
And so those are the goals. Truly, it's like spend time with the family, grow as a professional as well in my field, but then also just like by doing all those things, not jeopardizing my health, because the health, it doesn't matter if you don't have your health, you can't do any of these things or enjoy them. So at the core, you have to have your health, or else all your goals eventually will wheedle out because you won't be able to do them.
Amen to that. So how can people find out more about Jake Combs if they want to? You have a social presence that can check you out?
I mean, I'm on Facebook under Jacob S. Combs. I mean, I'm not very prominent on Instagram, unfortunately. I mean, but if you find me, you can probably dig up some old band photos on there. But I mean, if you ever want to like come to CrossFit, I mean, that's the easiest way to know a little bit about me more. You better just book a call and come to the evening classes, and you can meet me because I talk a lot. Okay, this is a very conservative type Jacob. When I'm in the classes, one, bad dad humor all the way.
Yeah.
Two, keep talking. So, I mean, Facebook's the easiest way to connect with me, honestly. And then if you reach me on there, you ever want to connect with my personal, all you have to do is ask. I'll literally just give you my phone number if you really want to discuss something. Because at the end of the day, I truly just want what's best for any individual I ever talk to, whether that's professionally or personally. So if anybody ever needs something, they just got to ask.
That's awesome, man. I think that's one of the things that makes you a good dude, good CrossFitter, and phenomenal in your career. And I'm grateful to know you, Jake. And I want to say thank you for joining us on the podcast today.
Yeah, of course. It was a pleasure. I would love to do it again sometime.
Awesome, dude. I know we'll talk more to our audience. If you're interested in learning more about CrossFit, you can Google us, find us on all the socials, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Then meander over to CrossFitEdwardsville.com, book a no sweat conversation. That's the starting point for learning what your CrossFitter journey looks like. Thank you again to our audience for joining us today. Thanks for Jake joining us on the podcast, and we'll see you guys in the next one.